Good morning and good evening to everyone. We come to our new session, who will be led by our Dr. Uh, Ima. So you are highly welcome, Ima and Angela. You are highly welcome. Now we are online, so I am giving the speech to the Gyro station.
Okay, thank you very much. Dear presenters and audiences, welcome to session called Human Branding, 9th session today. I'm very glad to greet you all respectfully. Before starting the presentations, I would like to introduce myself. I am Sima Nard. I work in Sakarya Business School in Turkey. My field is marketing. I am pleased to present one of my work in this session at the end of this session. There are three presentations in this session. The first paper title is The Personal Brand of Political Leaders. This paper is written Angela Madan, Rodica Svechleni, Mihai Ioan Rosca. Angela Madan from Bucharest University of Economic Studies. I guess Rodica Svechleni is same. Mihai Ioan Rosca from Moldova State University. Is it true?
No. It's Rodica Svechleni from University, Moldova State University, and Mihai Ioan Rosca from Bucharest University of Economic Studies. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much. And second paper title is Circular Causation. This paper will present by Masudul Alam Choudhury from Trisakati University in Indonesia. And finally, I will present my paper. The time allocated for presentation is 15 minutes, as you know. I would ask the presenters to pay attention to the time. Thank you very much. You can start, please.
Thank you very much. Hello, and I hope you and your dear ones are well and safe during this difficult time. Let me present our article, The Personal Brand of Political Leaders. Author Angela Madan, Rodica Svechleni, and Mihai Rosca, as was presented, and from Bucharest and University of Economic Study and Moldovan State University. Introduction: personal branding among political leaders worldwide through all time sparks interest among general public and marketers. This is an interesting phenomenon which needs to be studied, explained, and understood in order to outline the contribution made by their brand to the country concept. This paper aims to do an office study to explore personal brands of Queen Elizabeth I, Sir Winston Churchill, Queen Marie of Romania, Baroness Margaret Thatcher, Queen Elizabeth II, Angela Merkel, and Barack Obama, in order to test and develop the role or contribution of their personal branding that helped in their political activity and its effect. This article, through a case study based on secondary sources, reviews the roles of personal branding in creating and influencing the image of political leaders. This paper explored the image-building role played by political leaders over time. Studying leaders' personal branding represents interest among marketers as an authority topic not enough studied. Personal branding of leaders' effects was investigated in marketing applications of the question of effects on behavior. We set out to do an exploratory research for evaluating the implementation of the personal brand by the great political leaders and whether the personal brand played an important role or not in creating their image. Personal branding phenomena. The personal brand at the beginning in the late 19th of the 20th century was especially applied to celebrities, politicians, and leaders. After that, it became implemented by managers, scientists, higher education teachers, and others. Building a successful personal brand strategy requires a lot of personal effort, self-knowledge, and time. Formulating an effective personal brand strategy is a complex process. It is based on individual values, personal interests, and beliefs, and contributes to maintaining a positive reputation. For personal branding, it is important to be unique, meaningful, and profitable. Because of this, it is important to develop it constantly. There is a strong relationship between personal branding and personal performance. People need to improve their performance by way of the development of their thinking ability and skills. And when personal branding development programs are facilitated, they can improve their level of commitment, sharing of knowledge, and honors to work. Personal branding is the responsibility, first of all, of the person. Queen Elizabeth I's effect. The effect of Queen Elizabeth I on her authority as a leader was widely researched. Queen Elizabeth I was a prolific and skillful writer. Elizabeth used music as a source of political authority and had a reputation as a musical monarch. She was endowed with a talent for foreign language, however, Queen's power refers to the power of Queen mind. Queen Elizabeth has carefully cultivated her image as an extremely well-known stage person, not so much out of personal vanity, but primarily out of subtle politics, which to this day continues to exert a strong fascination. Sir Winston Churchill, or Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill, was seen as a political leader who spoke his own mind, having his own opinion, often regardless of party lines. Churchill's decisions demonstrated sober strategic calculation. He was a personality who said his own opinion, often regardless of party lines. His speeches are still inspiring. Queen Marie of Romania was one of the most prominent queens of the time. The Queen was described as a personality with a strong, charismatic nature and an indomitable self-belief. The Queen strategically but respectfully conquered the Romanian people by adopting the national identity and wearing the traditional dress, especially the Romanian blouse. This was also the key to her success. Queen Marie was celebrated throughout Europe for her beauty, charm, and sense of fashion, as well as for her real achievements in diplomacy. Queen Marie, also called Mother of all Romanians, preferred to write fairy tales, evoke beauty, even emotion with a vast deposit of words. The Queen, through her stories, expressed in writing the visualization of the palaces, interiors, and rural retreats. Thus, through the stories, she participates in a wide project of creating the royal image. Margaret Thatcher was the first, so far only woman, Prime Minister of Britain. She was known as a dominant figure in Britain's unique form of elected dictatorship. Margaret Thatcher demonstrated a striking mastery of the arts of political one-upmanship. The Iron Lady rose to power as a spokeswoman for liberal party principles. Thatcher was known as the mother among those who worked in the conservative research department. Thatcher was intensively ambitious, and her distinct personal influence on individual action was associated with radical public service reform programs. Margaret Thatcher was passed away, but deserved a tribute. She was one of the most influential politicians in the European construction process. Queen Elizabeth II served as the iconographic focal point of British identity. The rhetoric of coronation defined the Queen as the marker of an era of hope and new beginnings. The Queen at the coronation contributed to the growth in the creativity of science and art efforts, being repeatedly configured as a young, poor and pleasant mother and wife. The proliferation of the image of Elizabeth took place and an example of femininity, a lover, soft and life-giving. Queen Elizabeth II promoted the uniqueness and extraordinariness of the monarchy through the media to inspire people's interest and support. This ensured its universal popularity by strengthening its sense of universal participation, identifying the British with the monarchy and promoting the representation of the royal image. Angela Merkel, Germany's first female head of government, has raised through her own campaign and agendas, and is also a symbol of the important role of women in politics. Angela Merkel is the embodied of the leader of German culture who approaches a calm, passionate and competitive style of policymaking, avoiding mixing her public personality with her private life or academic experience, creating an aura of normalcy around her persona gave people the feeling of knowing her, which is beneficial in an egalitarian state like Romania. Barack Obama was the first African American president of the United States. He was his own product. The construction of his image dates back to the beginning of his political life, with the first book he wrote on the bestseller of the year. Obama has been described as having charm, charisma, a positive outlook for the future, a voice for empowerment, a role model for young people. He is a good example of how the internet, email, blogs, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, MySpace, or others, and mobile phones can influence the empathy of people and followers. He adopted marketing aspects of his campaign primarily based on a balanced act of rhetoric, on the theory of charismatic leadership and its effectiveness in mobilizing the media show, and became a master of global celebrity of the highest order. Conclusion: this topic is of great interest to both practitioners as well as academics. The implication and findings of this research will help to analyze and elucidate the role of image and personal brand, which play a key role in the politics of leaders, and their increasingly important role is reflected in other areas of society. When we analyzed the evolution of these political leaders, even if they are all different, they are all based on personalities with impeccable images and high values, esteem for each person, which brought them reputation. The study contributes to the marketing literature. The first, this study case adds to the body of knowledge the notion of personal brand and their effect in the sphere of leadership. Second, the study assess the individual level of personal branding used by majority political actors in their careers. Third, the study shows the relationship between personal branding and persuasion based on morality, high values, and ethics oriented towards the good of society. It can be concluded that political leaders from different periods and countries of different genders and ages have developed persuasive images to identify with the nation's citizens. to serve in the long run the interests of their country's citizens and to all society with devotion. Finally, it will contribute to further research for many prominent researchers who express doubts about the state and future of leadership studies, characterized by contradictory and confusing empirical findings. References. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Angela. As we have seen in the last American elections, personal branding is a strategic issue, especially political marketing. Implementing marketing strategies can directly affect the performance of political leaders. What is your opinion about this subject? Have you ever studied about political leader marketing and etc.?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Sorry. Have you ever studied about political marketing or leader marketing?
I only want to study it because I started with personal branding. It's more, but marketing, it's a huge study. Yes, it's very interesting topic.
Yes. As I said, my field is marketing, and we focus on not only product and services, but only political leaders. For example, in terms of tourism marketing, tourism destinations may be subject for marketing strategies and marketing implications. Similarly, political elections, in the political elections, political leaders can be studied in terms of marketing strategies. And in this aspect, personal branding is an important subject to market political leaders.
Yes.
Okay. Very interesting presentation and interesting subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For your presentation. And I'm not sure how can I see any question from audiences. Dear Faisal, can you help me? Is there any questions, audiences? How can I follow?
Well, like I'm now on the YouTube, but I didn't receive any question for right now.
Okay, thank you. And as far as I know, the second presentation will be published on as video. Okay. Please, can you help me video broadcast? Second presentation title is sorry. Muhammed Masudul Alam Choudhury. Okay.
record the podcast. Sciences as an entire economic world cannot be really interpreted in a simple way. For reasons of a great deal of the economic world remains uninterpretable due to its existence within it about the expectation of a subjective probability, which was never possible. So Keynes really was following at that time, trying to introduce the idea of ethics that he inherited, that at least he wanted to really take a stock of from the book of his friend G.E. Moore on Ethica. However, what happened was that the ethics that he was trying to really really trying to study as a part and parcel of the economic world, it escaped the kind of methodology that came out of his econometric understanding, and the economic the understanding that he had at that on that event was that the ethics that he really wanted to put into the economic model was did not really have a place for itself in economic preferences of that arises at the microeconomic level, but at the microeconomic level as well, the ethics is considered to be an exogenous factor. So ethics remained as an exogenous factor impacting upon economic dealing, as for instance, by the government expenditure, which was always thought in the econometric and the economic model to be an exogenous factor affecting anything that we deal with ethical issues. Now, to get over that, okay, a great deal of the economic world remain detached from any interaction with the other part of the economic world. Okay? So, but yet the question has now arisen that ethics itself is not an isolated or an exogenous part of the economic world. Rather, it is a very interactive part of the economic world, and therefore should be given its due endogenous place in economic reasoning. So thus therefore comes in the requirement of a robust form of an analytical methodology carrying with it all the elements of what constitutes methodology and the imminent method that comes out of that methodology. And this is where the circular causation finds its place. Circular causation, as I have just quickly mentioned to you, is a methodology that is over-encompassing, and it is a systemic field, a field of a large system that really interconnects and overarches between economic world and anything that you might like to call a non-economic world. So there is an element of participation and interaction that really remains embedded in the foundational understanding of the methodology of circular causation. Now, Keynes himself was a very great epistemologist. Okay, he really wanted to derive the econometric idea, his expectation the probabilistic expectation from the idea of a certain form of a way, as he was trying to envisage that how really the subjective probability could be really tackled. And so he said that, well, in order to leave out the metaphysical elements of what really constitutes a part of the human existence, he should really go not into the ethica of G.E. Moore, but really into the rationality axioms of economic theory. And thus, therefore, his rationality theory, which really arises out of a negation of the metaphysical, or if you want to call that as the epistemic whole, the wholeness of the epistemic world, that he could not really put that, which really earlier to him can't call that to be the a priori or the noumena. Okay, that thing itself could not really put into the economic reasoning, and economic reasoning really remained therefore isolated, separated, away from some of the great issues. But though Keynes himself had written profoundly on those issues, the issue of religion, as for instance, and the issues of aesthetics, okay, that really come and bear their influence on our economic world and economic reasoning. Okay? So here, therefore, the epistemic origin of Keynes's expectation theory of probability remain independent of the Kantian form of the a priori world or the noumena world, and thus therefore divorced from the economic world many of the elements that really constitute ethical behavior, and economic as a whole remain isolated. That is, ethics remain a exogenous isolated factor from economic reasoning. Circular causation makes the completes that missing gap in econometric theory by saying that really there is a change, that there is a possibility of a change in epistemics that really reconstitutes our understanding of the ethics, of the embedding of ethics in economic reasoning. And what it says is that the essential element of the world, which is constituted of many systems, of which are, as you will, are the countless many, and all of these systems, they are interacting with each other in the element of being united together with a single knowledge that is a message that is embedded in all of those kind of things, and requires a methodology to really extract that singularity of the message of oneness, of unity, that can be derived from a new way of viewing epistemics, that is epistemological beginning of reasoning as a whole. And so that comes in the fact that the epistemological beginning of the circular causation equation is that there is nothing really exogenous in the interacting fields of different systems that interact with each other. And there is no such kind of a system that do not really interact, except for the fact that our knowledge at any given space-time is really limited to the fact that it has to be completed. And therefore the march of knowledge itself, it covers an ever-expanding field of new vistas of knowledge that is brought within the interactive systems. And this being the origin, the epistemic origin of the unity of knowledge, that is the pervasive, that is 100% endogenous, participatory, and a complementary, interactive, and integrating world of a learning system, or an evolutionary learning epistemology, is therefore the beginning. That is the epistemology of circular causation, and it is this epistemology that really affects all the subsequent elements of the methodology that emanates from, and the method that emanates from the epistemic beginning the foundation of this epistemic beginning of the unity of knowledge. Unity of knowledge, therefore, as I have defined to be the interactive capability of different systems to unite together and to formulate the corresponding description, the corresponding possibility of the emanating or the world that arises from that kind of epistemological foundation. All of those tools are impacted by this epistemology, and one of the most important thing that we notice here is that if we really allow for that kind of an epistemological beginning of unity of knowledge, then really there is no independence or there is no exogeneity of any one given variable representing any system from the other systems. All of these variables are therefore interrelated with each other. And this is the kind of circular causation, 100% endogenous system that arises from the methodology of circular causation. The next step coming out of that understanding is the formulation, is to formulate that what is the knowledge that we get. It is to formulate, that is to say, that make it permissible or usable in the world in the kind of world that is constructed. Okay, as a result of that episteme of the unity of knowledge, and this is the world of pervasive complementarity between all the different elements of different systems. Okay. And economics becomes a part of that, but not really an independent part of that. And therefore, the reasoning of economics itself is not independent of its interaction with the reasoning that goes on embedded in every other system. Economics, therefore, becomes a sensitive issue of a sensitive study of the entire evolutionary field of knowledge. Okay. Which today only we know, or we can only fathom the idea of economics as dealing with the economic problems of man, but not being independent of the social problems of man, not being independent of the ethical issues of our existences. All of these things become reasonably, that is to say, something that can be empirically, that can be conceptually formalized and empirically studied and sustained in this entire circular causation multi-system, that is large system model that comes out of the epistemological beginning of unity of knowledge, impacting upon the world that it evolves. Now, from that, we therefore come with a certain. There are many properties, many descriptive parts of this whole circular causation methodology that comes about. All of those things are, of course, not within the scope of this paper, nor is the empirical demonstration a part of this paper, but nonetheless, they are there, represented, presented in many of the publications that have it. In fact, the idea of circular causation has not been taken, has not been picked up in economic reasoning, though it really existed in the minds of Gunnar Myrdal when he really talked about cumulative causation, with cumulative causation, but within that cumulative causation is a deconstruction. That deconstruction is the methodology as to what really causes the cumulative causation to occur and explain itself in respect to various different problems that emanate in society as a whole, not only in the economic world, but as the economic world interacts with every other world. And but it has not been picked up in economics to do any fathomable, that is, any substantive depth. Now, the very first part, of course, is the epistemological part of the unity of knowledge, which then goes into the formulation of a certain way of how really to take part or to accept to introduce that knowledge that comes from the epistemological beginning, how to really put it from a discursive, in a discursive sense, such as, for instance, the interaction that goes on between institutions, between individuals, institutions, communities, and markets, and how to really put that kind of an interactive consequence of the reasoning into formulating requisite of, firstly, the choices of the variables, which the circular causation really says that, well, if the objective of all systems is really to bring about the well-being of humanity and to sustain it, therefore the variables themselves should really be those that will be representing the well-being function, and therefore the variables are matters of choices that are made on a discursive level, fired by the epistemological foundation, and thus the formulation of or the choices of the variables are made in respect to any and many problems that encounter us as we see them. Now, from there on, the formulation really goes into conceptualization of the objective criterion. The objective criterion of circular causation is essentially the well-being model, where the well-being model is really described by the arguments, that is to say, by the presence of every good choices, that is the choices of those kinds of choices that really bring about that inject in well-being of the totality of the social order. This well-being, therefore, is a representation of the degree to which there is, therefore, a unity of knowledge described and attainable by the choices of the variables made. Now, because of the fact that there is learning in the system and there is interaction continuing on that generate learning in the system, and these learning in the system, they fire back into the order, into the system as an endogenous kind of factor. Therefore, all of these variables are interrelated in a large system of 100% endogenous interactive variables. These are the intervariable circular causation dynamics that come about as derived equations from the objective of evaluating the well-being function given the variables of choices that are made. Okay? And therefore, you have got, if there are n number of such variables, we have got n number of such equations that come as derived equation representing the interdependencies between the variables. And then on the last, the n plus one, the n plus 1th equation is the equation of the estimated well-being function, which exists in the first instance as a conceptual model, but now takes its form in empirical model that is an estimable model, and that is the last equation, and that is an approximation of the knowledge that is embedded in the system, which really creates, which enables those kinds of interdependencies to occur and to sustain themselves. Sustainability in the model really means to say that this ethical behavior, which is the interdependency according to the rule of the episteme, of the oneness of the unity of knowledge, and that which is carried through by the choices of the good of the variable representing the good choices, okay, is recreated, that is regenerated in the system. So it keeps on going. And here is the model that you can see is of that type, which I'll show you right now, is this, that you begin with an ontology of the unity of knowledge and keep on going from there to derive the knowledge itself in a discursive manner, and with a cogent, a well-described mapping, okay, from the ontology to the formation, to the derivation of the epistemology. And from that derivation that derivation of knowledge itself is really simultaneous with the determination of the choices of the variables representing the good choices, and not only representing the good choices, but also trying to marginalize, that is, do away with the unrecommended choices of the social order, of the moral and ethical order. And from there, we come to the formalization of what we call is a well-being function. That well-being function describes a world system that is the interactive system constituting economics and all other systems that learn from each other by interacting, integrating together, and evolving into higher and different and echelons of knowledge. Okay, this then that last moment, a part of that is that kind of consciousness that is embedded in the system as a result of the epistemological paint of this description that I've given to you, and that is recreated, regenerated. And so the regeneration is to recreate this one and to keep on going in loops and loops and loops forever as it goes. Okay, so this is the continuum over which of the knowledge, space, and time over this. From there we come into the marginal, into these symbolism, and we represent the ontology by omega. We represent that mapping by S. And then these two, they form the knowledge theta star, which then from that theta star we come with that kind of the unity of knowledge, which then becomes specific, particularized to our problems. This is theta, and from that theta we have the world system X theta, which is a vector, matrix, tensor, whatever you will like to call it, which really describes the world system. And this world system is to be evaluated by the well-being function. Here it is a well-being function, and that well-being function really then generates multiple, that is large system, 100% endogenous relationship represented by xi, etc. And the last of this equation, the n+1th equation, is the empirical version, just the approximated empirical version of the embedded knowledge that is in the system. And this is all empirically viable. So the circular causation, while it really questions the entire limitation, all the limitation left behind, by the econometric model, and how ethics can be really studied as a kind of a cementing, that is interactive cement between the different kind of interacting system. While it does all of that, it does not really negate the mathematical. It does not negate the mathematical usage of or the usage of mathematics and statistics and philosophy and other kinds of, even to the extent that you can go and overarch into the realm of religion, as it is mentioned, for instance, by Kant. The two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing awe and admiration. More frequently and continuously, reflection is occupied with them. The starred heavens above me and the moral law within me. I ought not to seek either outside my field of vision or through, although as though they were either shrouded in obscurity or were visionary. I see them confronting me and link them immediately with the consciousness of my existence. Likewise, Imam Ghazali wrote, and that is translated here, what is monotheism? Which is suggesting to us how far this you can see a circular causation extending its profound methodological extensions as its arm. And this is in the realm of religion. What is monotheism? Know, O readers, that God reliance is a door out of the doors of faith. All the doors of faith are not kept in order except with knowledge, condition, and action. Out of these three elements, God reliance is born. Knowledge is the basis. Action is its fruit. All of these things bear upon the circular causation, the entire methodology that is taken across, and coming and brings it to the level of phenomenology, that is the consciousness of understanding this world. That's this kind of a learning world. This starts from the unity of knowledge, goes into interactions to create formalism, and these formalism are empirically viable, that they are empirically estimated. And once you have done that, we have come into the simulation stage to create policies and regeneration of the entire thing through the process of sustainability. This is the phenomenology of the system, and it is a continuous system. Continuous as well as in the sense of continuity, as we understand in mathematics, taking stock of all the mathematical results with that kind of a specification of what is the nature of the system that you're talking about, of the problems that you're talking about. Okay, and with that, there is a formulation that I've done here, which is not empirically estimated, but we intend to do that in course as you keep on going in a book which has to do with the universe, which is the title of the book is The University. And what is the knowledge? What is knowledge all about? Okay, and here is therefore an example of a vector Y theater, which is a vector of all of these variables that you say, the price variable P, the poverty variable PR, R is the resource, H is the human development, IL, which is bracketed with H, is the illness and health and illness variable, and theta is the knowledge variable. This itself can be reconstituted as the variable X, which is shown in a form where the variables are turned in ratios, showing that actually we are not really talking about a perfect optimal system. We are talking about learning systems here. And in the learning system, there is always some degree of some degree of imperfection that you have to really acknowledge of, which then is subject to a better state of the system by marginalizing them. And this is why the ratio variables play a better candidacy. And therefore, you keep on going, and the entire system that the derived marginal, the derived endogenous systems are represented in xi theta, which is below here, which is the xi theta. Here, these are all as many variables. There are so many equations you will have, and the nature of this equation is open by the mathematical imagination that you can really constitute. And then we have the final one, which is the approximated theta, which is knowledge embedded in the system, which is of this, which is described by this equation. So the entire equation is therefore empirically viable, recreatable, okay, and explainable in every different form. And it is robust, and it is extensively answering extensively the problems of interactive systems. And this is where the ethics becomes a viable, dynamic, creatable, and understandable, usable system that has got not only its conceptual value, but also its empirical value. And that ethics itself is described by the degree to which interactions become robust between choices that are good choices of life, creating the well-being of humanity, and on subjecting themselves to an continuous space-time expansion of recreated knowledge and the world. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Contribution and presentation for Professor Masudul Alam Choudhury from Trisakti University, Indonesia.